More than 4.4 billion quizzes have been played on Sporcle. Ready to play? Welcome to Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. Joining us is Sporcle founder Matt Ramme and CEO Ali Aydar. Thanks for taking the time, Matt and Ali.
Thanks for having us.
Done in tandem. I like that. So for the uninitiated, Ali, maybe we'll let you go first here. Give us the overview of what Sporcle is.
So Sporcle is a media and entertainment company focused on trivia. Our flagship product is our website, operating at sporcle.com, which is a user-generated trivia quiz platform. There have been over 1 million quizzes created by users that have been played over 4.4 billion times. And then offline, we operate Sporcle branded pub trivia quizzes in bars and restaurants across the United States. We have we operate about 500 live trivia events per week. And we've been doing that for about 9 years now.
Wow. Matt, how did this come about?
So let's see. I was a big fan of doing crosswords, watching Jeopardy. My wife and I would play with the crosswords together, play New York Times, and we would kind of work on it together. And a lot of it for me was, she tended to be better at a lot of figuring out a lot of the answers. My strengths were a little bit in the sports and in geography, and she covered most of the other stuff. And so while we were doing that, I was trying to, get better, hold my own. And so part of, to me, was to be even better and learn the things that could hold up. And so hence learning all the geography, learning history, presidents. There's a lot of stuff, whether it's Jeopardy or the crosswords, there's a lot of the sort of similar kinds of information in trivia that come out. If you know that information, you can, you can do well and you can get some answers. So I set out to help myself learn that. And I did it with just using flashcards, piece of paper, front and back, looking at answers and trying to just, memorize things like capitals of the states and which presidents and which order. And as I did that, I kind of was like, this is in 2006, 2007, around there. I went online and figured, well, there must be a way that I can do this. This is easier than just using pieces of paper. And so I went looking for a solution that would help me continue to learn this kind of information. And I didn't really find anything I liked. Half the stuff I found was wrong, and the other half just wasn't fun to play. So I basically decided to build something myself that I could use to help myself learn stuff like this kind of trivia knowledge. And so, as the story goes, I had made the first quiz that was me learning the presidents, and you just type out the president's order, and I kind of put it out there for the internet to see, and the internet said, yeah, I like that too. And then we just did it a lot more times. So that's kind of the short answer. It really accelerates there at the end, but really it was born out of my own desire to learn some of this kind of information. And then because others had a similar interest, I kept creating more and more. And then eventually, get the users.
So are you better than your wife now?
No, absolutely not. But I do know a lot. This definitely has improved significantly the subset of data that I do know about, and has made me, and even now when something comes up, she'll come to me for any geography thing, and I tend to know it much better than I did at the time. So I still haven't caught up with her some of the other subjects that she's better at, but I at least hold my own with the stuff that I know.
So have you tried to go with what you've learned on a show like Jeopardy?
I haven't. I have actually have taken the Jeopardy intro test once or twice, and my problem is an issue of speed. So to be able to be good on Jeopardy and those things, you have to not only know the answer, but know it in like a second or less. And I found that my ability to recall information that quickly is not great. Sometimes I need a minute, which isn't very good for a game show setting. So
not only know it, but you need to be able to push the buzzer before the next person, right? So,
exactly. Yeah. So
but Ali, I understand that that quite a few Jeopardy champions, or a number of them anyway, have been fans of Sporcle, have used it.
Yeah, we've been told by several Jeopardy champions that Sporcle was a important part of their preparation to be on Jeopardy. We even have a multi-time Jeopardy champion on our staff, and he's also told us that without Sporcle, he would not have been able to do as well as he did on Jeopardy. So you
can do some name dropping here. It's okay.
Okay. Well, so the person on our staff is Jason Sterlocki. The more prominent person that has talked about using Sporcle is Austin Rogers, who was a 12-time Jeopardy champ. So there have been some others as well. So those are kind of the two big ones.
And some other celebrities besides those on Jeopardy have talked about Sporcle, right?
Yeah, so Ray Romano talked about knowing countries and capitals and flags once when he was on Jimmy Kimmel. Who else? Help me out, Matt. Who else?
Yeah, I just heard there was a podcast that
the Rob Lowe on his podcast talks about Sporcle. So
and all the Parks and Rec, I think, folks, they would get together and have like Sporcle competitions amongst them when they were in between shooting and such. So
well, if we've whet the appetite of some more potential players here, give us the overview of how they get into it. What's the process here? Is there subscription involved, et cetera?
Matt, you want to take that?
I mean, everything is free, really. You come to the website at sporcle.com and you can play anything you want. You can, once you play lots of quizzes, again, we have quizzes in lots of different formats. There's multiple choice, fill in the blank, clicking ones, pictures, not, but then everything you see has been, basically everything you see has been created by users. So we give users the tools. If they go in there and they say, hey, I want to learn some other thing that I can't find on your site, which is hard because we have, as Ali said, millions of quizzes. So it would be impressive, but yet people still do. They create new things all the time. And so, yeah, you can just create an account and you can create your own quizzes that you can let others be challenged by. And so it's I don't know, Ollie, do you have
it's easy and straightforward to get started. Just sporcle.com, sporcle.com, and find a quiz you like and you'll get into it pretty quickly.
But this is a business for you. So tell us about the business side, where the income comes from.
So there are few business models attached to Sporcle. On the digital side, it's primarily advertising on the website, along with a subscription service for those diehard Sporcle users who want to enjoy an ad-free experience, and one with more bells and whistles in terms of feature set. So those are the two business models on the website. And then for our pub trivia business, bars and restaurants pay us to attract patronage to their bars. So we're paid directly by those businesses. And then we also have, as part of our pub trivia business, and that really started to grow during the pandemic, doing pub trivia events for corporate clients. So as employees became remote during the pandemic and have stayed remote, we do these types of events to keep remote employees connected with each other, and give them a way of still having that ability to get that human connection that they no longer have because they're not in an office together.
Social atmosphere, I guess, remotely, right?
Yes, exactly.
So tell us, in terms of you mentioned the pandemic, what the impact has been on your business. Has it been good because a lot of people have been playing more games? And how can people set up to play with friends or loved ones?
So the pandemic was quite a challenge for us. There was certainly, during the height of the lockdowns, a surge of traffic on our website. So from that perspective, it was good. There was a lot of people sitting at home. We were able to entertain them while they were at home. However, our pub trivia business struggled because all bars and restaurants and retail locations were shuttered. And so we went from operating 750 shows per week to 0. So that was quite a challenge to overcome as a business. We pivoted to doing our shows virtually during the pandemic, and we still have a small virtual operation going every night, where we play trivia shows over Zoom. And then what happened after a few weeks into the pandemic is we started getting these corporate clients, and that's where things really started to pick up. And so from that perspective, the pandemic ended up opening up this opportunity for us. So the corporate, along with the virtual, were two opportunities that we were able to capitalize on that opened up as a result of the pandemic. And the virtual events were really compelling, to your question about family and friends and loved ones, because people weren't able to be in touch or be able to travel to family as much anymore. Our virtual offerings were part of what people used to replace actual high touch family occasions. So people would play virtual trivia on our platform to keep in touch and keep connected with family. And again, we still offer that. You just go to sporcle.com/virtual, and we have virtual shows every day of the week that allow people to connect with each other through this platform.
And that goes on live?
That goes on live. Yep. It's live, it's hosted, and it's entertaining. It's good fun.
So, Matt, tell me where you want this to go from here. We're obviously, to some extent, at least, hopefully, keep my fingers crossed, knock on wood, and everything else, coming out of the pandemic stuff. But where are we going from here with Sporcle?
Yeah, I mean, we have all this, as I said, the virtual and the pubs. We kind of have this offline world of playing pub trivia and playing with friends. And then there's the whole website where people can play there and connect and play trivia. I think what we're really, obviously just making those products better, but I think what we're really trying to also do is just have the Sporcle sort of brand and name be just more in more places, right? Like most recently, people playing Sporcle on TikTok has been really growing a lot recently. And so while it's kind of a short form platform. It's a way where people can sort of show their knowledge again and interact kind of differently than they had as well. So I think whether it's that, and then honestly, whether we get to something like TV game show, I think we have a lot of aspirations of adding more ways where people can experience the Sporcle feeling in different places beyond just the website and bars.
So who came up with the name?
I did. And
tell me the process.
Yeah, I've actually gone back a few times and tried to, because it's, not the first time I've been asked about it. And I've tried to kind of recapture what helped me come up with the name. And it's a little tricky, obviously. So it was originally, I built a site at first that wasn't trivia. So the Sporcle website I created first, basically just to create a website. I had done sort of application development in the past, and I wanted to create a website and play in kind of that world. And so the first thing that I started to work on in that was a sort of I don't know, sports prediction, which is that, letting users go in and choose who might win games. And obviously now things like, there's a lot of sports gambling that's happening now. And so there was no gambling aspect to it at the time, but it was just a way for people to go in, kind of like the March Madness, where people fill out the bracket. It was a way for people to do that, to do more of that. And so really the closest that I can recall the name was kind of a conglomeration of the word sports and Oracle. So that's the closest that you get to how exactly I came up with that, and that it was available. And I've kind of tried to figure out, but it just sounded right. And so I made the name. And then when I actually pivoted to the trivia, everybody just really liked the name. So we just kind of kept it because everybody had a really positive association with it. And it kind of, I do like that it sort of doesn't sound like anything in particular. So it isn't a thing. It's kind of its own thing, which I kind of liked.
Yeah, it's got some sparkle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Fred, we like I'll tell you why I like the name now, so many years in, is it's become a verb. If you just sort of follow what people are saying about Sporcle on Twitter and how they use the word, Sporcle has become a verb that describes playing a Sporcle quiz or describing a Sporcle quiz. People will say, oh, there's a Sporcle for that, right? Or let's go Sporkling. So the name is really started to become part of a cultural zeitgeist.
And having it web-based as opposed to, more focused on apps. Tell us about that strategy and how it's worked for you.
Yeah. So the challenge with Sporcle is that at least the original Sporcle, most of the content was required a keyboard. And since a lot of the content is timed, it's much easier to play on desktop. It's a cleaner experience. Over the years, we've made it much easier to play on mobile, but initially it was such a desktop focused thing that we really focused on desktop. Mobile continues to be, and getting a mobile app experience that is compelling for users is part of where I see our near future going. But the strategy was driven by the way in which the content was much easier to engage with on the desktop. And then also the creation of quizzes and the tools required to create quizzes, again, much easier to do on the desktop. Sporcle was founded before the iPhone, and so the tools and feature sets were all optimized for the desktop. And as we build out those tools over the years, the complexity of building quizzes and whatnot just are so much easier and cleaner on the desktop, and that's why it's evolved that way.
What about the issue of vetting this user created content to avoid gunfights or whatever?
Yeah. So here's the position we take on it, Fred. Anybody could come and create any content they want, and we're not going to check every single quiz. The quiz is theirs. We just provide a platform. However, if we choose to feature that quiz on our homepage, then we take over that quiz and we vet the quiz in detail to make sure that it's accurate. So our staff of curators verifies the accuracy of the facts in the quiz before we publish it and feature it on our homepage as a premium piece of content.
And maintain it going forward too, right? Like, I mean, are those quizzes when the world changes, right? That's definitely a tricky thing in trivia, because stuff changes, countries change. In this time, we've added a couple of countries since I first created the quiz about the countries of the world. And so it's kind of this constant, and sports things changes, new champions come about. So there's this, to keep all of the content up to date is definitely a Herculean effort put forth by our team of both employees and contributors and volunteers on the site.
Yeah, the best example of this is if we're not on top of all the quizzes related to the Super Bowl after a Super Bowl is finished, we will start getting complaints within 5 to 10 minutes after the Super Bowl is finished if we haven't updated certain popular quizzes around Super Bowl champions. And so we're literally on standby updating those quizzes as the world changes.
Any favorite anecdotes that you've heard from players about the impact you've had here?
I'll tell you, my favorite was when somebody created a quiz to propose to their girlfriend marriage. For one, that's to just be a part of someone's story like that is a privilege. But then to be that creative and utilize our tools to do that we're always amazed by the creativity of our users. We put out tools thinking that our users will do one thing, and they do that one thing, but then they do the 10 other things that we didn't even contemplate because human beings are creative, and we just give people tools to unlock that creativity.
Well, congratulations on what you've done with the platform, the longevity, and it sounds like it's going to go on for a long time from here. Terrific stuff. Matt and Ali, thank you so much for taking the time with us.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.